Can't wait for Deku and Shigaraki to have to team up against All For One, because you know it's going to happen. Thank you to our $5 patrons Redwolf4765, Midnight Gemlord, and Sean. And thank you to our $3 members Recliner Plays and Redwolf4765. And a very big thank you to our $25 patron Alex Ice Rose. And another very big thank you to our $25 member Alex Ice Rose. Now, let's hop into the review of chapter 385 of My Hero Academia. However, before we do that, please remember to leave your own thoughts on the chapter in the comment section down below. Leave a like and subscribe if you haven't already. Also hit that little notification so you don't miss out on any videos that come in the channel. Also I do a Patreon below, each one as low as $1 month, exclusive videos, early content, and more. You also now become a member of the channel for as low as $3 month to get the same perks and more. Some of those perks include the live reaction to this very chapter. Now let's hop into chapter 385. What's up guys, Punks here, and here we are to review chapter 385 of My Hero Academia, which is known as The Impulses of Youth. And, like, you ever get the, how do I put it? You ever get the feeling that something's going on for too long, yet simultaneously isn't long enough? Like, the most apt comparison I can think of is getting a large ice cream with sprinkles on a cone. It is large. It has so many calories. It literally is diabetes on a stick. But regardless, once you finish it, you're like, darn, I want more. But as you're eating it, you're like, darn, this is a lot. Like I don't know. That's the feeling I get from My Hero Academia right now, where I'm simultaneously like, darn, this needs to end. I'm falling, like, admittedly, my care has dropped drastically, but I'm falling even further, yet simultaneously, it feels like this series needed, like, another 100 chapters or so before we got anywhere near this point. But enough of that, let's hop right into the chapter itself. So we open up, and we do get to see that the battle is still raging on, as we see the battles are happening in multiple areas. Shigaraki, who strangely enough is the only person noted to the east, even though it is Shigaraki and Midoriya. They're currently fighting right now, I'm pretty sure, but it's only Shigaraki noted to the east. Then we have Gigantomachia and Mount Lady running interception from All For One from reaching Shigaraki, considering that's his main goal. And we see that from the west, we have Urashi, Hawks, Dark Shadow, and Tokoyami all trying to essentially pincer All For One to prevent him from going anywhere. As we saw last chapter, that actually was going pretty darn well. And with that being the case, we have even further away, even further west, we have Shiketsu that's currently being assaulted by different villains. And by different villains, I mean just a whole bunch of Toga-twices. So, yeah, everyone's in a bit of trouble right here. The levels of trouble are very different. Like, notably, it's been established that the Toga-twices can't necessarily use their quirks that well. Well, they can duplicate. They can use their base quirk very well, but not any other actual destructive quirks. So as long as the structural integrity of the facilities that the civilians are being held in are maintained to be stable, the Toga-twices, no matter how numerous they become, aren't really going to be able to break in there, because they aren't like strong enough to tear through metal and concrete. They're powerful, but they're not that powerful. The worst they could hypothetically do is like clog the track with their bodies. So that's the only real thing. But we do get to see that as this massive multi-front battle is going on, Mount Lady has broken yet another weapon. And she says, this one's busted too. Another one, Rule. And we see that Rule, with one of the most broken abilities in the verse, I can't believe I keep forgetting this, proceeds to make another gigantic weapon. And you know, one thing I'm wondering, right? And I know I've been complaining about this for the past couple chapters, because I do think All For One still roaming around here is dumb. But like, how are they actually hitting Brody? Like, notably, I get it. These are titans all swinging together, not necessarily simultaneously. They're probably staggering their attacks, so everyone's always constantly hitting All For One, like just one by one. Here Tokoyami hits, here Mount Lady hits, here Machia hits, and obviously Urashi is like bringing wins around, so All For One is struggling a little bit to escape. But considering how tiny he is relative to them, like the fact that they're able to land these massive hits when he should be reasonably fast, like he should be a little bit speedy. Like I'm shocked he's not able to just slip one and dip out. Like I understand him not dodging a mountain, and who knows, maybe Maybe even I can kind of understand him not dodging Dark Shadow's massive claws, but the fact that Mount Lady is swinging with like wrenches and stuff like that and somehow landing hits is kind of crazy to me. I guess her aim's just that immaculate, or as been revealed as of recent, All For One's just that dumb. Probably a mix of both. But regardless, we do get to see that as Rule throws up one, there's just no other tools she can really use. She can't throw up another wrench or anything. She just throws up a tool made by other people. And we see that Mount Lady's like, let me level you real quick, dog. I don't care if it's a tool. I don't care if it's a weapon. I don't care if it's your big toe. Anything will work as long as I can slam the Demon Lord to a pulp. Why are y'all calling him the Demon Lord? Why are y'all buying into his hype? Like, I'm not gonna lie. Why are you doing this? Bro does not need all the extra hype. This is like Mount Lady not Mount Lady. This is like Mandalay a couple chapters back being like, the resurrection of the Demon Lord is gonna absolutely eviscerate the entire planet. Like, why are you hyping bro up? like why are we hyping up the big bad? Like, I get it from a narrator perspective. Like, if a narrator would say like, the Demon Lord has risen once again, younger and more powerful than ever before, like, I get that because the narrator's job is hype it up. But like, Mount Lady, come on. You really gotta hype him up and call him the Demon Lord? Like, how many people did he even say? I forget. How many people did he even say he wanted to be like known as the Demon Lord? How many people did he say that to? Was this just like a wide known fact? And that's his nickname now? Is All For One too degrading? So you gotta just slop him off a little bit and say, yeah, it's the Demon Lord. Oh, like, come on now. But we do get to see that even with her determination to slam the Demon Lord to a pulp, Mount Lady hasn't had the easiest of days. Like, she did literally get manhandled and sucker punched by Makia, and also like ran here, like, straight up. Sure, she's big, but she's what, 67 feet tall? She's only six. That sounds weird saying only, but she's only 6 stories tall. I know school buildings that are taller than Mount Lady, or like student centers that are larger than Mount Lady and stuff like that. I know, I've seen bookstores that are larger than Mount Lady. So she had to book it all the way here after already dealing with manhandling by Makia a bit. Who knows if she actually managed to properly heal from the last war, considering that was like 2 weeks ago. And top that off with the fact that she's fighting a literal deity that's sending out attacks left and right. Yeah, her huffing and puffing and weaving and breathing, yeah, I can kind of understand it. And by kinda, I mean a lot. Like, it is really impressive that she's managing to do all this at all. Like, legitimately, the amount of raw stamina and endurance this has to take is crazy. And we see that she's not the only one feeling the heat a little bit. Even Tokoyami, as he's swinging with Dark Shadows, like, oh, sweet mother, oh, sweet mother mercy, I didn't realize his girth was so heavy. Oh Lord. And we see that he's swinging still, he's still fighting, but Hawks is like, hey, bro, I'm sorry that being your wingman is all I can do, but you gotta keep this up, bro. Like, you gotta keep fighting. You gotta keep throwing these paws. You gotta keep throwing these hands. And the thing is, as we see these paws being thrown and these hands being thrown, Tokoyami's like, nah, bro. Ooh, don't worry, man. Just because I'm a little tired doesn't mean I give up. And he does say that your support grants Baldur's Light more speed. Ironic that he calls it Baldur's Light. Like, Baldur is a god of light, and he says Baldur's Light as in light. And like, his quirk is called Dark Shadow. Like, what is light about this, Tokoyami? You in fact want more darkness. However, we do get to see that the pummeling just keeps going on. The people are roaring together, doing their darnest to keep slamming All For One, keeping them in place. But then suddenly, shock, horror, legendary, crazy, golly gee willikers, fellas, All For One was reminded and remembered the fact that he's an actual living, breathing, walking demigod. And that all this fodder, capital F-O-D-D-E-R, fodder, is just that. Meaning that the fact that he was stalled here for as long as he was, after standing around forever in his prime, capital P-R-I-M-E, suddenly he realizes that, oh wait, I can just blow through y'all, as you should have been doing since forever ago. Like, I get it, Dark Shadow's strong, I get it, Yorashi's strong, I get it, Mount Lady has the gains, but jeez, bro. the fact that you waited this long to flex just a little bit, like legitimately, I'm not even sure exactly what hits Mount Lady here. It looks like she kind of just drops her weapon though, but a hit lands on Mount Lady and she is sent skyward, airborne. She gets put, based on her height and her relative height to Dark Shadow, probably like 30, 40, 50 feet into the air. From one slap, one slobber knock. And this is bad. Like, she legit starts pouring out that juice, that good guac. And we see, as she's pouring out the juiciest of red guac, it don't stop there. Because a certain someone, a certain demon lord, since we're slopping them off at this point, a certain demon lord takes one look at their little rabbit dog and said, hold on, wait a minute, ooh, and decide that, yo, let me level with you real quick. Wait, he's young now. How do I do this? Look here. A dog. That's more Shigaraki. Hold on. How do I do this? A dog that bites must be put down. Perhaps this is my other self's influence, but something dark brews within my core. Something insane and inane. The younger I revert, the more unattainable it grows. Untamable, in fact. So, interesting. A couple things here. One, other self. You mean Shigaraki? Because you shouldn't mean Shigaraki. Because unless I'm mistaken, now note, I am in the camp that quirks are just magic now, and I should not question them. And that's why you haven't heard me complain quirk stuff in a while. But this is very important, because according to All For One, this is the only reason, on top of him getting younger, this is the only reason he can amp himself enough to finally deal with his opponents right now. But All For One shouldn't have any influence from Shigaraki. That's what the Shigaraki body was for, right? Like, yeah, there's a copy of All For One in his consciousness inside Shigaraki, but those have no links as far as I know, right? Because this All For One is wielding a copy of All For One, which isn't the original. The original is in Shigaraki, and I don't think there's a universe. Is there like in? I thought it was specifically debunked that there was like a universal inference. Isn't that why he needs to go see Shigaraki? Like, maybe I'm missing something on this other self type thing, but it's not like there are two All For Ones within this one All For One body. The only other self I think he could be referring to is Shiggy. But Shiggy shouldn't have any direct link to him. That's why he needs to go see him physically, like do something to him physically and be there. If he could just hijack Shigaraki from long range with that mental Wi-Fi, he would have. So I'm not sure. Perhaps my other self's influence, but something dark brews within my core. Like, huh? I don't know. It seems weird. But once again, quirks are magic. So maybe suddenly there is a Wi-Fi connection when there wasn't one before. Maybe there's just magic. Once again, I feel bad judging quirks this way. I know they're a lot of people's favorite power system, but I think they're dumb. And this is one of the main reasons for it. And we see that according to him, the younger he reverts, even though he looks pretty much the same, the younger he reverts, the more untamable it grows. So the darkness within him grows ever more untamable. But hey, All For One, what'd you call yourself, buddy? What are people currently slopping you off for? Let me think. Tapping my brain. I'm trying to remember. Oh yeah, aren't you supposed to be the Demon Lord? Aren't you supposed to have that extreme darkness within you? Like, notably, he says something dark brews within my core. And that could mean hatred, but I thought that hatred is also what he needed Shigaraki's body for. So how is suddenly reverting to a younger state, when he suddenly had less hatred, giving him access to more hatred and negativity that allows him to amp himself? Like, what is even happening anymore? Like, genuinely, what is even happening? Like, I get it. Pencil, you can't think about it too hard, is a fictional series about characters slobber knocking each other with weird biological evolutions. Yes, I know, but when we've gone so far out of our way to establish that All For One shouldn't be feeling stuff like this, at least not in the traditional way that should give him like emotional amps and stuff like that, him suddenly getting it when he's getting further and further away from the point where he should have extreme amounts of hatred stored up within him is weird. It's weird. His body should be becoming weaker. Like, once again, he's lowering beyond his prime. I'm not sure about y'all, but I'm much more in my prime now than I was when I was a teenager. When I was a teenager, I was fodder. I would one-shot Teenage Me. And that's crazy to say, because Teenage Me was in really good shape, and I'm not even in the best shape of my life right now. Working towards that. But in terms of just, like, raw stats, raw gains, yeah, I would one-shot Teenage Me, because I was lean. I was really, really lean back. I think it was like 180? I think it was like 180. Back when I was in prime, top of the line, running track every week. I was physically fodder. Strong, but fodder. So I would one-shot myself. And I'm pretty sure a younger body of mine would hold less cortisol than my older body would. So I'm not exactly sure how All For One is getting this untamable, erratic darkness. But, you know, he does. And we see that now with this untamable, erratic darkness, he proceeds to use this big old blast quirk. Like, it forms this really cool spear thing in front of his hand, and the thing is, the quirk kind of like manifests outside of his body for the most part here, and like it forms two rings behind him, a ring in front and the orb in the front, and then he blasts and it tears apart his arm. But this massive lightning blast also tears apart Dark Shadow. And All For One, I mean, okay, here's the thing, maybe I can let it slide on the idea that he doesn't know how Dark Shadow works, but you're telling me you had this cooking in your back pocket, even if it was weaker, because it is said later on in the chapter, like literally the next page, that his quirks are getting stronger. Like, as he de-ages, his quirks are getting more powerful for some reason. So, once again, quirk magic, we'll talk about that. But if you had a light blast, or a lightning blast, or whatever, it looks more lightning-esque. It's an energy blast of some sort. Once again, becoming more and more like Dragon Ball the more and more the series goes on, but, you know, it happens. Power creep is power creep. But, like, if you had this, where was it? You could have used this before? Were you really getting ganked that badly that you couldn't fire one light blast? Because this is immediately next Dark Shadow. Like, no, Dark Shadow was massive, gargantuan, and it immediately gets atomized by this thing. Like, it literally gets blown apart. Hawks is literally vaporized. Tokoyami gets vaporized behind. Like, straight up, this would have casually at least weakened Dark Shadow just a bit. All For One, where was this? Where was this? Oh, wait, Hori didn't think of it yet. I want to wait until All For One perishes before I make the All For One video I've been itching to make, because, like, when I was first planning to make it, it was pre the de-aging stuff, and the de-aging stuff has added a whole bunch more idiocy to All For One as a character. But I think I just kind of gotta make it now, so we'll see. But with that being the case, with him nearly atomizing Hawks and Tokoyami, we get an explanation for this rampant power-up, and on top of that, why the quirk is seemingly manifesting out of his body, and even shooting directly out of it, too. And the more I give myself over to this darkness, the more I can draw on my quirk's latent potential. For instance, a cataclysmic blast of light. So it is light. So there you go. There is light. It's not lightning. It looks like lightning. It looks like electricity, but it is light. Interesting. And we see that Kirishima worries for Tokoyami, as Yoroshi's like, don't let up, just because our big heavy hitters got one shot, literally one after another. Like, seriously, who's saying, like, Yoroshi, who is left to not get let up? Like, Mountain Lady got slammed, Gigantomachia got slammed, and Tokoyami got slammed. So, like, who's left to not let up? But the only explanation we get for All For One being able to draw out more of his quirk's latent potential, as he puts it, is that youth is a wondrous thing. I'm sorry, that doesn't explain anything. Like, I get it. Quirks are magic. But what? like legitimately, what? I have no idea how. Like, what does him getting weaker, obtaining what is objectively a weaker vessel than his prime self, allow him to draw out more of the quirk's latent potential? Like, I don't get how that correlates. You get weaker, so you get stronger? Like, I don't know. Is this on some Super Saiyan God type beat where, like, bro got slimmer but got stronger? I have no clue. But it just feels so strange. Especially because, like, this is a big thing with All For One. Bro didn't need buffs. He did not need buffs. Like, you don't need to slap buffs on him at this point, Hori. He was already the main villain. Like, bro already was untouchable in the verse. Except for the one other guy who could naturally, well, not naturally, but had multiple quirks. So, like, or at least a whole bunch of power stockpiled. He was untouchable except for All Might and Deku and Shigaraki. You know, the main heroes and the other main villain of the verse. Why are you still buffing him, Hori? Like, I get it. You put him in a situation where he needed a buff to get out, but you shouldn't have put him in that situation in the first place. Because it doesn't make sense with how you've built up All For One. And there's a fantastic video I just recently watched that I'm going to do a live reaction to. Though it won't really be a reaction, it'll just be a breakdown because it did great things. It talks about All For One a lot. And I wanted to talk about how that guy talked about All For One. So that'll be popping up soon. Probably very soon. But regardless of any of that, it is absolutely biggity bonkers to me that you put All For One in a situation where it shouldn't have happened, and now you need to buff him to get out of said situation. But the thing is, by buffing him, you're making quirks even more magic, which makes the power system make less sense, and the less sense the power system makes, the less invested I can be in it. Because, to be fair, for a while now, I think ever since the Vestiges started doing their Vestige thing, I've kind of believed that whatever quirks need to be, they shall be. Like, there's no like hard and fast rules for anything anymore. A quirk can just be anything. And sure, you can argue that quirks were always meant to be that way. They were a soft magic system, as people smarter than me would put it. And yeah, I get that, but I don't know, just making them more and more nonsensical is it's not fun. It's not fun. And we do get to see, as everything cuts to black, All For One, for some reason or another, like, I get it, Dark Shadow was strong. It looked cool. It looked neat, All For One. But bro, you are still de-aging. You still have a main objective you need to get to. You still have a second body that isn't going to immediately perish. Why are you staying here and dealing with the rabble? And admittedly, it gives one of the coldest looking panels, so cold that I literally had to draw it myself, even though I couldn't draw it in full because I'm not that good of an artist. But still, giving one of the coldest panels this side of the Mississippi, but I'm sitting here like, Brody, why? Why? And he gives a reason, quote unquote, but once again, I need to remind you that this man is literally perishing in front of our very eyes, and he knows this. He even mentions it, but he says, the boy pushed me to such lengths, so I'll be taking his quirk out of my way. All For One, you are a deity. Like, long story, bro, you are top 5. You are literally top 5. How is Hawks even standing in your way? Bro literally got atomized. Like, on the very page before this, he got atomized. How is he standing in your way at all? You literally just sent Mount Lady 100 feet into the air and one-shot Gigantomachia. How is this one tiny human dude holding you back long enough that you can't immediately speed blitz him, tear him apart, and take his quirk? Like, bro, what? What? Like... Like, how do we go from buffing All For One on the very previous page to having him struggling at all? Like, Hawks somehow managed to pierce his body. Hawks, who was getting smacked around, burned, and vaporized literally the page before, suddenly has enough strength that he can take one of his blades and push it through All For One's body. The blade should shatter against his flesh. Or you gotta pick one. You gotta pick one. You cannot have All For One be a demigod a page before and then have him getting humbled and impaled by street tears the very next page. I'm sorry, you can't have both. You cannot have both and expect me to take your narrative seriously at all. Is it a cool moment for Hawks? Yes. But does it make any sense within the context of the narrative you just established not a page ago? No. So I don't think it's worth it. I don't think it's worth it. But then again, I don't think a lot of what My Hero Academia has been doing recently is worth it. I don't think All For One as a character, as he's come back as the main antagonist, is worth it. Being completely real with you. If I'm being completely wholesale honest with you, I just don't think it. And it's so... Hori, I'm not bad. I'm just disappointed. But we do get to see that All For One begins to glaze on Hawks. And you know, if there's any character in the series next to Endeavor who deserves the glaze, it is definitely Hawks. Might as well make him like a French cruller. Glaze all over him. As he says, "You made a decent showing of it, Hawks. Fierce wings. A putrid, festering quirk factor. It's to your credit that you got this far using such garbage." So, Fierce Wings is not a good quirk either. It was just made strong by Hawks. I mean, I could kind of agree with that if Kid Hawks didn't have so much potential with it. Like, bro literally stopped a car crash or saved people from a car crash or something when he was like 5. Like, I don't know, all for one, I feel like that quirk's pretty strong. Like, individual control over a whole bunch of pretty powerful feathers. Like, these feathers are powerful enough to lift entire people on their own. So, I don't know. I mean, it's, to be fair, it's not a cataclysmic light blast like the one you used 5 seconds ago, which you should just use on Hawks to annihilate him. But it's not fodder. I'm not sure if it's exactly garbage. But once again, all for one, hi, buddy. Your biological clock, it's ticking. It is ticking. But then again, I gotta remember, as is something I've been doing more and more consciously as I review and talk about stuff. Yeah, on a narrative level, on a character level, it does not make sense for All For One to be wasting his time doing any of this because he is literally on a clock towards the end of his life. And he only has one last thing he can do to hopefully secure his longevity in a new vessel. So he should be gone. He should have been gone like 10 chapters ago, being completely real with you. But on the outer narrative scale, literally on the narrative scale, he's not going to perish. None of this actually mattered. He's never going to reach a point where he can actually do something, because Hori wouldn't let that happen. He needs All For One to be here and All For One to not perish here, but against the main hero and the secondary main villain at this point, Shigaraki. So nothing really matters. So from a meta-narrative standpoint, with little narrative dissonance in mind and not necessarily caring about the narrative itself and what the characters inside the narrative as they were established would do, then this scene is just fine because there are no real stakes here, because there are no real stakes anywhere in My Hero Academia anymore. But in the narrative, this makes absolutely no sense. like just being completely honest with you, this makes absolutely no sense on multiple levels. All For One being held here as long as he is, All For One having a conversation with Hawks at all, Hawks being able to pierce his body, none of this in any way, shape, or form makes sense. It just looks cool. And I'll be real. I like that. It looks cool. Hori's art is fantastic, as always. Like, I don't think I could slop Hori off enough. Like, legitimately, I could make a trillion glazed donuts, and I still would not be able to say I slopped off Hori and his art enough. It is gorgeous. It is top tier gorgeous. But just the execution of these characters after they've been built up for as long as they have, the execution of this narrative after it's been built up for so long, all of this, it just feels so vapid. It feels so wrong. It feels so contradictory to things that My Hero was. Like, notably, I'm a very large perpetrator of the idea of comparing different series. I am. I compare My Hero to JJK. I compare My Hero to Black Clover. I compare My Hero to Four Knights. I compare it to a whole bunch of stuff. And I do the same with those other series. If you watch any of those other reviews, you'll hear me talk about how, such and such is done better in this series, or such and such is done worse in this series. But when I look at the current state of My Hero Academia, I think of what My Hero Academia was. And I feel bad because I'm still comparing it to another thing, which, comparison isn't always valid, but I'm comparing the series to itself. I don't think Kamino Arc Hori would do this. I don't think, let's be real, I don't think Endeavor Agency Hori would do this. I don't even think early Paranormal Liberation War Arc Hori would do. Like, we know Hori can do better on a execution front. So when I see him fumble this aggressively, just breaking down every last rule he has set up, ruining characters just for the sake of things looking cool, sucking out all narrative tension just for the sake of stalling at this point, realistically, All For One shouldn't even be here. And it's just rough. It is just rough. And it's sad to see how far it's fallen. Notably, for the longest time, I felt like, My Hero Academia was fine, but it never, like, when I hear people say MHA fell off, I was like, it fell off a while ago, or it didn't have too far to fall from. But now, looking back on it, listening to so many different retrospective videos and podcasts, and rereading the series myself to make videos on it, yeah, MHA fallen off quite a decent bit. However, back to the narrative. Sorry, I've been complaining for so much. We see that Hawk says, so the quirks you stock work outside your body and don't mesh well when you're rewinding, huh? Sucks to be you. So, okay. So, All For One has quirks, but he simultaneously doesn't because they manifest outside of him. I guess he's just covered in quirk juice because he's rewinding. Okay. Whatever. Quirk magic. I've already done enough complaining about quirk magic. I'm not even going to bother trying to rationalize it. And we do get to see that All For One finally notices, oh, wait, golly gee willikers, fellas. Oh, this damage is hastening the process of my reversion. Oh, no. Wow. Maybe I should be gone. But with that being the case, we see that they throw their balls. And one of the balls lands and sticks to All For One. And we see that All For One turns, once again, just wasting time. And we see that Mineta himself, Chadnetta himself, is like,
stealing your shadow for yourself. It's only gonna get you turned into a crazy edgelord. You want a real quirk? Take my top off instead. You'll get the serve you. Just don't take dark shadow from Totally Dabi. Please, please. I love him.
What is this character? Why does this character, Hori? Why does this character have more screen time, more development, more care, more interaction of positive lengths with major antagonists than half of the other cast? 3/4 of it. 9/10. Let's be real. Like, come on now, Hori. Why is it always Mineta? Why is it always Mineta? I know you love the guy. I think he even said somewhere Mineta's like a self-insert. I know he was memeing there. I know Hori's not like Mineta in real life. I don't know Hori from a can of paint. But still, I'm going to assume he's not like Mineta in real life. I'm pretty sure you just said that as a joke. But Hori, give her a rock or something, Hori. Give her a rock or something. Hori, please. Hori, I'm begging. Don't get out. Hori, please, I'm begging you, bro. Hori, please, give her a rock or something. Give her a rock or something. You should have given Stars and Stripes something. You should have given so many other characters something before this. Or just give Ida something. Please, Hori. Why? Why, bro? Why Mineta? Why Mineta? Why is Mineta scared and sad eyes striking remembrance and contempt in the Demon Lord? Why? Why, Hori? Why? We see that All For One decides, fine, I'll finally actually do the thing I would do in character like 15 chapters ago. Look there, a news shopper. Yes, let the people witness the carnage and lose faith in you all over again. You heroes couldn't protect a thing. And he's right. I mean, to be fair, they stalled him out. They stalled him out a lot, but it doesn't mean anything in the grand scheme of things. So yeah, they couldn't protect anything. All their best are down. They got slammed again. GG's. And we do get to see All For One finally leaves. And we see that even in this dark, dark place, this dark, dark hour, according to Hawks, as faction receiving refugees from UA, we were designated as purely non-aggressive defensive force. However, the refugees have yet to arrive. Still, there's a glimmer of hope. Yeah, because, it's a shonen. Like, it has to end happily no matter how nonsensical it is. And we see, in one of these subterranean evacuation systems, UA to Shiketsu, there are questions on why things aren't moving. Because apparently the lights have gone out, everything stopped, and we see my wife, okay, to be fair, Maruko's my wife. Or Mirko, whatever. I still remember reading the old translation. That's why I call her Maruko, if you don't know. Like, I know her English translation name is Mirko, but I call her Maruko. But she's my wife. But my second wife is Fuyumi. And she's right here, and love her. Top tier character. Best character in the Todoroki. I can't lie, Endeavor's right there. Number 2, I'm not kidding. I don't like Shoto. He's boring. And I don't like Dabi. He's dumb. Natsuo, he's aight. And Ray, she's cool. But, like, it's Endeavor and Fuyumi. The only reasons I read My Hero Academia now. But regardless, we do get to see that Natsuo's like, Mom, sis, stay close to me. Something's going on. And we do get to see the kids who are watching stuff on an iPad. Like, how do they even have internet connection down there? Like be completely real. Like, they are underground, right? And, like, most of the world's infrastructure has been leveled. How do they have internet? And we see that these are, in fact, the kids from the Bakugo, Todoroki, Yoroshi, and Cami arc, I forget, the secondary license exam arc when they got to get their licenses properly again. These are the kids from there, and it's nice to see that they're all watching and tuning in. And we see the civilians are now losing hope again, just as All For One said. And, you know, once again, as much as I slop off Hori's art, the second thing I slop off the most about Hori is his world building. For the most part, the mutant stuff was done awfully. But regardless of that, I do slop off Hori's world building. And yeah, this is a realistic thing to happen. Like, no matter how much the heroes did for them, the fact that they're in this situation where they are in a remotely safer place is all because of the heroes. Yeah, when you see that every single person that was supposed to be protecting you got laid out, put on their back after they got laid out and put on their back again, yeah, you probably lose faith. You probably lose faith. Fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me. So I can definitely understand why the people are feeling this way. And we see at the task force HQ, everyone's wondering what's going on with the one transport carrier, and two All For One's on the move, meaning that they need an update and they need it now. And they check on the Brava, who says, I took control of the evac system, so multiple blocks are on the move, but one of them stopped from the inside. Someone's up to no good. So yep, there is some direct internal interference, and it is one of the guys that we saw from way back when. And we see his motivation for serving All For One. I know All For One told us to obey Skeptic's orders, but we've lost contact. How can I produce results for All For One? By the end of the day, the world will be in his command. Unless we contribute to his cause, we've got no future. And we see that an old character, the head of Goon, he shows up and he says, I found the mole! And he immediately starts slamming Brody. But the thing is, as he starts slamming Brody, the roof gets slammed in, and Tetsu's called to catch some debris. But the man, the myth, the legend, the Chad himself, Detho Amzo, he shows up and he's like, I know what lies ahead. Wait, can I do that voice? I know what lies ahead. I can't do that voice. We're gonna try. I know what lies ahead. Cusco's poison. Cusco's. I can't do it. But regardless, we got to see history repeat itself. I know that. But even so, it's hard to explain. He'll perish for nothing. Does he have a perish wish? My body. It took action all on its own. And in Kamino Ward, we see that not yet. It's not over yet. And Stain is posted up on a building, blade at hand. What is he going to do, though? Who's left there to fight, specifically? Like, in Kamino Ward, Dabi's gone. He's at All For One's location and fighting Endeavor, who we haven't seen in forever. But he's there. What are Todoroki and Ida going to do? I have no idea who they're playing to fight. I have no idea who Stain's playing to fight. I mean, it's cool to see Stain. I like Stain being here. That's neat. He's in the thumbnail, probably. But, like, I have no idea. And I gotta admit, Hori drew Todoroki and Ida very, very well here. Even though Ida's hair looks kind of a little bit off. But regardless, I mean, part of me doesn't even want to say W chapter, right? Because, I mean, it's a W chapter because All For One finally did what All For One should do after he took a while to not do that. So I'll say it. W chapter, I like seeing the ramifications that the loss has on people. I like seeing the little inside spy plot line finally being wrapped up. I like seeing Death Arms come back and, you know, give into the true hero nature, his body moving on his own. I like seeing Stain. It's a fine enough chapter. It's just that my general complaints and distaste with the narrative have become so prominent because they literally happen every single week. Like, there hasn't been a single week that's gone by in recent memory with My Hero Academia where I haven't complained about All For One's idiocy, where I haven't complained about quirk magic, where I haven't complained about the stupidity of the narrative at this point. It feels bad because I want to love My Hero Academia. Note this, I never, ever, ever want to dislike a series. But I'm not going to sit here and lie to y'all. Like, I'm not gonna praise things that I feel are dumb. I'm gonna tell you how I feel, and that's how I feel. However, what do you guys feel? Please tell me in the comment section down below. And if you made it all the way to the end, if you happen to sneak here, because I've seen the watch and retention time, people usually don't make it past the 6-minute mark. So with that being the case, if you made it all the way to the end, leave all for none down below. All for none. Not all for one, all for none. And I hope you guys enjoyed. Thank you so much for watching. Remember to like, share, comment, and subscribe. And make sure to little notification bell to miss out on any videos that come to the channel. Also, I do with Patreon below. Each will be as low as one down on exclusive videos, early content, and more. You also now become a member of the channel for as low as $3 a month to get the same perks and more. Now, thank you so much for watching once again, and I hope you guys have a wonderful day. This is That Go the Pencil, writing off.